Welcome back to the Grow Like a Mother podcast. I am your host, Jill Wright, time management strategist, and I'm so excited to have today a returning guest, Jen Rafferty. Jen came on the podcast in season 3, and I'm really excited to have her back. We had an amazing conversation. Jen is an educator, she's an author, she's an international speaker, and she started her career as a middle school teacher back in central New York. But now she has just finished her PhD in educational psychology. She's certified as an emotional intelligence practitioner, and she's the CEO of Empowered Educator. So she uses the Empowered Educator programs to give the most relevant, reflective, and up-to-date research in mindset, leadership, and cognitive neuroscience. To the educators. And she's committed to inspiring teachers and school leaders to discover their voice and maintain healthy longevity throughout their careers. We talk about time management today. We talk about emotional regulation today. There are so many cool pieces to this conversation. And if you are interested in time management, of course, I think you should also check out a past episode from last season, season 3 as well. My guest, Clara Ganter, talks to us specifically about how to conquer chaos and find balance. Time management tips for moms. So I'm going to link that episode in the show notes, as well as the first episode that I did with Jen. So you can listen to both of those and, of course, dive right into today's episode, which we will get to right away because I don't want to keep you waiting any longer. Okay, Jen, welcome back to the show. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, it's so good to be here, Jill. I love talking with you.
Yeah, same. And I was just re-listening to our episode. I'm going to make sure it's linked in the show notes so that the audience can go back and check that one out on work-life balance and the like addiction to overwhelm that we were talking about and all that stuff. So yeah, if you haven't been introduced to Jen yet through that episode, highly recommend you go back. But that was last year. Can you give us a bit of like an update on all things Jen at the moment?
Sure, I'll give you the skinny update. Things are going really well. Empowered Educator is expanding in all sorts of really wonderful spaces and places where we're supporting the well-being of all of the adults in schools, including parents. Our parent program is now growing so much, more this is how it always goes. Something starts and then the trajectory just whoosh, it just keeps going. And it's been wonderful to work with whole school communities to create new language, new understanding, places for vulnerability and authenticity, and how it really creates that ripple effect to our kids. It's been incredible to witness. And then, yeah, I finished up my doctorate degree, so that's been really exciting, and I'm glad that that chapter is complete.
I can only
And
imagine.
yeah. And then I have a book coming out next summer with pre-sale in the spring of 2026. And it's just really wonderful to be able to resonate with so many people about the work that we're doing. It's so important, and everyone wants to know more about how we can make sustainable change, particularly in the educational landscape.
I love that. I think that the work that you're doing is so important. Having like 4 school-aged kids, I totally see um, why it's necessary, and it's such like a widespread need for this kind of work, I think. But I love also that you're doing the book because then like non-educators and people who aren't in the school system all the time can sort of like get in at a really affordable entry level way to be introduced to the work. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Sure. So, Empowered Educator is what the book is going to be. And, it goes through truly the framework that we provide in Empowered Educator programming through understanding, your intentions of how you want to be when you get up in the morning. Think about it, you get up and you're pretty intentional about what clothes you're going to wear, but how intentional are you about how you want to feel that day? And what it is that you want to accomplish, and how you want to feel when you are doing those things, and connecting to the person who you want to be. And we really help you build a bridge from understanding the awareness of where you are now, creating a vision of who you want to be, and then how do we get there. So the book is really about concrete tools through stories and research that I love of how to get there, because that's been the journey that I've been on. And I want to be able to share everything that's helped me and continues to help me along the way.
I love that. And it's so clear that you do love the research. I mean, if you've been going through the doctorate process, that is a whole thing. So,
Whole thing.
oh my God, congratulations again on that.
Thank
That's so
you.
very exciting. And I know it takes a lot of time and effort and intention to get it done. So you're really like walking your talk as you go through this.
Oh, 1,000%. And what's been so cool about this degree, actually, and I just defended the dissertation just about 2 weeks ago. I got emotional when I was introducing myself, because I started this degree that same year of 2020, in the fall of 2020, when I decided to stay home and homeschool my kids for that year, for what I thought would actually just be a semester, and then it ended up being forever. But this degree was parallel to my journey personally, and my personal growth journey, and in my business. And so it was really nice to kind of put a bow or a button on top of it, and turn a page to a new chapter of what this next iteration of me, what the next iteration is going to be for Empowered Educator. And it was a beautiful moment.
Yeah, and so well deserved, right? There's so much effort that goes into that. And it really, I love a good full circle moment like that. But as you're describing it, I'm thinking to myself, oh, yeah, Jen was getting her doctorate and homeschooling her kids and running a business, like, and being Jen and I know that last time we dove a lot into how you manage all of that, but I'm wondering if things have shifted or if you think if you're anticipating any shift now that that piece of the puzzle is kind of off your plate, or I mean, really, we're just replacing it with the book at this point.
Yeah, I think the shift happened years ago. I had to truly go within. That's really the whole key to everything. You can collect degrees or certifications or likes or followers. None of that is going to create the sustainable feeling that you're looking for, because you're always chasing something. And so what I really got to get I got comfortable with was sitting with myself, which was very uncomfortable at the beginning, if we're being honest, and unpack, kind of do a little Nancy Drew of what was I feeling? What did I want? What did I want? And was it aligned with who I am, or did I want it because someone else wanted this thing? At the point of the degree that I had started it, it was always something that I had wanted to do. But as you said, I was homeschooling my kids, I was starting a business, I was being Jen, I was newly divorced. So experiencing what it was like to be single again, that was a whole nother thing too. And I I slowed down. I think that was the starting point for the shift in how I moved through my life. Was I was constantly at a 10. The balls were all juggling. I was going a mile a minute, trying to keep everything together. And I gave myself permission to slow down just a little bit. And I would ask myself, well, what would happen if I just moved 10% slower? What happens if I just speak 10% slower? And in that slow, I started to recognize space. And that's when I started to breathe
Hmm.
and let my hair down and discover things about myself that I was too busy to realize in the first place. So even with new projects that come along now, I I walk through them with that same intentional attitude of slow and space. And that's made all the difference.
I love it. I love that because we're constantly hearing, at least in my media feed, like, what if you did 1% more? What if you could be 1% better? Like that whole idea of these like tiny shifts to be better. But you're saying, why don't we go 10% slower? We're kind of going the opposite direction here. We're kind of thinking like, okay, let's revisit this idea of what it looks like to live in a way that feels joyful and calm and spacious rather than trying to constantly pack things in. It doesn't mean you're going to get less done. It doesn't mean you're not going to accomplish your goals and your dreams. What it means is, for listeners, if you haven't already picked this up yet, what it means is you're going to get there and you're going to feel good when you're getting there. Like along the way, you're going to feel good, which is, I mean, the ultimate goal, I think.
Of course, there's two things to that. One is nobody gets out of here alive. That is a for sure thing. We are here for a very finite amount of time. Everything is temporary. So if we are just chasing and doing, and we're not being, we are missing the point. And especially speaking to your audience right now, our kids are watching us. And by doing, we're perpetuating that for them. And going slower might seem counterintuitive, but I'm going to challenge you to wonder and to be curious about and do a little experiment of what if you were more effective when you slowed down? What if your impact was greater if you slowed down? And what if the things on your to-do list that made it to tomorrow didn't matter because tomorrow's not guaranteed anyway?
Hmm.
That
I
makes
love
all the difference.
I love that perspective. It's so aligned with how I teach about managing time as well, in that I like to offer reframe that rest can be a good productivity tool. For those of us who are like still stuck in this like need to perform, right? This, oh, I have to do more. I have to keep going. I can't rest. I don't deserve it. It's not right. Whatever that story is in our head, like, can we give ourselves permission to rest? And it makes it easier if we look at that as like we're getting recharged, right? Like when we take the time, we're able to be show up better in our roles with more clarity, with more intentionality, with more stamina when we've taken the time to recharge, right? And I always teach my kids like you have to plug your body in like you plug your phone in at night. Like you need to rest. It's required.
Yes, it is required. And I'm so glad you said that about time management, because for me, what I've discovered along the way and what I share with the folks that I work with is time management is energy management, right? Because you can have all of the fun doodad notebooks and lists and calendars and whatever. You're smart. You can figure that out yourself. Like if you want to do a time management thing, this is something different that we're offering here in this conversation. When we look at time management as energy management, what you start to realize is that you are time. And when I first started to learn about this concept, it was very foreign to me. I totally didn't understand it. I was like, what do you mean I'm time? Time's linear. It's now, and then it's now, and then it's now, and then it's now. But I want you to, consider this thought experiment. We've all been there. We're late to work. We're stuck in traffic. Somebody cuts us off. How are you feeling when you're running late to work? Those 10 minutes feel like an eternity, and it's just agony sitting there, and you're angry and you're frustrated, right? Notice even my body, I'm just in this thought experiment, I'm so tight, I'm tense, my stomach is in knots right now even having this conversation. And then you flip it and you imagine 10 minutes holding a newborn baby in your arms and staring into that baby's face, and those 10 minutes fly by because you are so immersed in the moment and in the emotion. And what's true is your attitude determines how you feel, not your circumstances. And so when you shift your attitude, you shift your relationship with time, and everything changes.
Yeah, thank you for that. I completely agree. And I also use that languaging like energy management. One thing that I'm kind of tossing around right now in creating like a planner, a weekly planning system is like it's life management. Like how you manage your time is how you manage your life. Like we need to really make sure that we're understanding how important it is that the goal is to have a great life, not to have a great schedule, right? Oh, yeah. There's so much to unpack there.
Yeah, 100%. And with that life management, the way you spend your time is a reflection of your values.
Yeah.
So if you're saying you value family, you value me time, you value kindness, you value compassion, you value connection. Where is that reflected in your calendar? And if the answer is nowhere, well, that's beautiful information. So interesting. And you get to have a gorgeous, non-judgmental sit down with yourself and make adjustments. The way you spend your time reflects your values.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing that I've discovered as I go through this work of the mindset shifting around time is that when we when we have a breakthrough or we break a limiting belief in our mind about time or value or any of these things, it's actually like when we can change the way that we understand time, more opportunities for time open up for us. It's really crazy. It's like you're in the ground floor of a building and that's your mindset. But when you get to the second floor, all of a sudden there's a whole new corridor of things that are available to you that weren't available to you on the first floor because you just weren't quite there yet. So this is one of the big pieces of like why mindset and understanding and doing sort of like this work, which encompasses all of it, is so important for all of these different things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to your point, your perspective becomes your perception.
Hmm.
And so when we start to widen the aperture of what we're able to see, then of course more options become available to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to also pick your brain about regulation because this is a big thing right now. Calm, like finding our calm state of being, regulating our nervous system. I'm hearing a lot about this. I'm seeing a lot about this in my feeds. And I know that you have some really good perspectives about calm being like a really powerful state of being. And I agree, there's a lot of power within that claiming of calm. Can you dive into that a bit for us?
Sure. Yes. Calm can be your biggest flex. And what I want to say here is actually something a teacher said to me the other day. And I think this is important. I'm being called to share this right now. I was talking about self-regulation with new teachers. And one of the teachers said to me, Jen, can I just be honest with you? I am so sick of trying to feel regulated all the time. And I had to explain a little bit more. She's just like, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm tired, I'm annoyed. Like I don't want to be regulated. And I want to say this here because I think this is a message that often gets skipped in the messaging. Finding your calm is not is not a reason to ignore your emotions. Your emotions need to be felt and expressed for as long as they need to be felt and expressed. You're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling angry, you need to get that out. Do something physical, go for a run, scream in your car, hit a pool noodle on a wall for a little while, slam a medicine ball, get it out physically so that then you can find your calm. Because she was right. You can't find your calm when you're activated and in a state of stress, when you're in a state of survival. It doesn't, that's why when you tell someone to calm down, it doesn't work. It never works. And you can't positive thought your way through feeling better. So I need to put that there also as a little caveat to what I'm going to say next. But when you are able to find that inner calm, that's when you show up as your best self because you have a regulated nervous system that feels safe. It allows you to feel confident. It allows you to feel inspired. It allows you to connect with the part of your brain that you actually need to have the conversation, to get on the stage, to handle your children doing whatever they're going to be doing before bed when they should really be getting ready for bed. Right? So these are the things that you actually need that part of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, to be online for. And we can't access that part of our brain that's responsible for problem solving and organizing and prioritizing and higher order thinking if we are not in a regulated state. We don't have access to it. And so exercises like yoga, like meditation, like breathing, these things connect us back to our breath, connect us back to our nervous system in a way where we remind ourselves that it is safe to feel safe. So many of us don't feel safe feeling safe because we don't know what that feels like, and our nervous system freaks out. It's like, wait a second, we haven't done anything for 20 seconds. What am I doing? This doesn't feel safe. We might die. this is an opportunity for you to create some familiarity around that regulated nervous system state of calm, so that then when you go have that difficult conversation, you're in that literal right frame of mind, because you are in a literally different body than you would have been if you were going in there feeling activated.
Right. And it's something that I think is so interesting that, I mean, we know now, we didn't know before that you don't have access to all pieces of your brain when you're feeling triggered. Like you can't access the most important because you're in fight or flight. Like it's a whole, there's so much information now that we have on what happens in our body and recognition that like, oh yeah, we're not actually supposed to be like at level 10 all the time. It's super important to make sure that we're coming back down. Like the spike is purposeful for certain things, but the idea is that it comes back down. And I love that we're aware of this now, sort of like as a society and as people who are like doing the research and doing the work. Um it's obvious, right? It's like, oh yeah. But I just think back when I was growing up, I didn't know that. I had no concept at all. I just thought stress was part of it. And so, what a beautiful thing for us to be able to teach our kids and show our kids as we're learning it in our 30s and 40s that they have that example as they're going through the hard years. Like yours are pre-teens, I think now. Is that right? Your kiddos?
Yeah, so my daughter's 11, my son is 13 now. So
Yeah.
yes, tweens and teens in my house.
Oh God, gotta help you. I know it's yeah, I've got a couple of those at home too, and it's a difficult time, but there's so much happening with the kids at that age that to be able to offer them these sort of examples, because they're not going to listen to us. Let's be real, we're parents, we're not the ones that they're listening to. Don't waste your breath trying to tell them, but showing them by example, um, what a gift.
Yeah, it really is. You're right. They don't listen to us, but
Mm.
they're watching. And they know, when I'm feeling activated because they're trying to kill each other, making sure everyone's safe. And then I need space. Like I'm going upstairs. And they know that that's why I tell them that's why I need space right now. I'm not feeling great. And you have an option to get space from each other too. Whether they take that or not, that's their journey. But I know that I need to do what I need to do to show up and parent them the way that I want to.
Yeah. Yeah. I do too. I do that exact same thing too. And it's once it becomes habit and the norm, they buy into it. They're like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah. And they can start to see. I don't know if this is true for you, but my kids can start to see when I'm like going off the edge. And so they're like, oh, okay, like it's maybe time for you to have a break, or like we're gonna go off this way and give you some time. Um, which is all really just to say that they are paying attention and they do get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They do. They're
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah. Um, I want, before we wrap up, I want to make sure that we give the listeners the opportunity to join in for your summertime programming. I know registration is kind of like trickling as this is being released. Can you tell us what those courses and programs kind of look like and who they're for, who would be a good fit to jump in?
Sure. The easiest program to jump into is actually Thrive, and that's a self-paced class and starts July 1st. And it is wonderful. It has been a life-changing course for the thousands of educators and parents who have taken it. And it's a great way to get a little bit dose of inspiration, some strategies over the summer, some new ways of thinking about things that you can get on your own time. And what's so great about this class, that even though it's self-paced, we do have live office hours every month. So if you have a question, if you want to connect with other empowered educators all over the world, it's a great place to do that and network and learn from each other. So that's a great place to start, is our Thrive class.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. That feels so accessible. So like I feel welcomed in already, just the way that you're talking about it, you know? I think that that is a really smart choice for anyone who's looking to sort of continue this conversation that we had today and to get some practical, tactical tools to help and sort of become empowered, I think is the right word.
That's it.
Of
That's
course
the
it is.
word.
Yeah.
That's the word.
Oh. Well, this has been so awesome having you back, Jen. Thank you for your time and your wisdom today. Is there anything on your heart that you want to share before we wrap or that hasn't been touched on that you feel important to talk about?
The thing I think I want to leave people with is something that's on my desk, and I might have even shared this last time too, because it's so important. So if I did, it's worth repeating. Please remember that enough is a decision. It is not an amount. And the only person that gets to decide whether or not it's enough is you. That is it. That is something that I look at every day on my desk because it's so easy to just do one more thing and respond to one more email and to make one more phone call and to do one. And I get to decide when it's enough. It's a decision.
Thank you.
Mm.
That is profound. As you can see, I'm like jotting it down. This is great. Um, Man, that's perfect. Thank you again so much for being here. And to all of the listeners, until next week, keep on growing like a mother.